Fans of the long-running sketch show Saturday Night Live have known and loved Bill Hader since he joined the cast back in 2005. He quickly became one of the best cast members on the already stacked show because of his knack for impersonations. Even to movie enthusiasts, he's a familiar face in popular comedies like Superbad, Adventureland, Tropic Thunder, Paul, and Men in Black 3. Today, we're talking about Bill Hader's hand in the popular Comedy Central cartoon series South Park. One of the first South Park episodes that Hader worked on was the season 13 installment Fishsticks, which contains quite possibly the funniest joke ever conceived. In an interview with Ron Bennington, while talking about his new movie The Skeleton Twins, he also talked about going to work with South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. He said that he had received an unexpected invitation from his friend Matt Stone, who wanted him to join him and a couple of other writers of the show on a writer's retreat. The event was basically organized to allow the writers to get away from their homes, families, and daily lives and come up with ideas for the show while on a vacation. Hader said that he had tons of fun at the retreat, and that was where the inspiration for the Fishsticks episode hit. So, what's the deal with Fishsticks? On the retreat, the group of writers and Hader went to something called a salmon ladder, where they watched salmon go up. While watching the fish, Matt said something along the lines of, "What if one of the salmon was like Evel Knievel, just like on a big motorcycle and just like, ah!" That got a chuckle out of the rest of the writers. Then somebody from among them talked about the Evel Knievel salmon being well endowed, to which Hader replied, "Oh yeah, he's a fish." After he said that, one of the other writers may have misheard him and said, "Fishsticks?" To which Hader replied, No, fish dick." The same writer still couldn't make out what Hader was talking about and said, "Oh, you mean fish sticks, like you put in your mouth, like you eat, fish sticks." And that's it. Believe it or not, that was the joke. It came from the writers riffing on the salmon and Hader becoming confused by the pronunciation of fish sticks versus fish sticks. Still not making much sense? Let's talk about the infamous episode. The episode opens with Jimmy working on jokes for his comedy routine while Cartman sits on his couch, munching on some chips. Jimmy comes up with a joke when Cartman asks if he has any snacks, to which Jimmy asks him whether he likes fish sticks. Cartman says yeah, and Jimmy asks him whether he enjoys putting fish sticks in his mouth. When Cartman says he does, Jimmy asks, "What are you, a gay fish?" In case you haven't gotten it yet, the joke plays on the fish sticks and fish sounding similar. Eventually, the joke becomes a hit around South Park, and Cartman starts to take half of the credit for it. When it becomes a national sensation, comedian Carlos Mencia goes on Conan O'Brien's show and takes credit for it. The joke is played on Kanye West, who doesn't understand it and hilariously refuses to let anyone explain it to him, because he is a genius and the voice of a generation after all. But why Kanye? Well, we all know that if there's someone who doesn't have a sense of humor about themselves, it's Kanye West. When the writers came up with the joke, that's what they asked themselves. Who wouldn't get the joke? Who wouldn't be able to laugh at themselves? And they immediately thought of Mr. West. So they had Vernon Chapman come up with a joke that goes, "Are you a fish?" Everyone but Kanye gets the joke. Kanye simply says, "I am not a fish." Then his guys come up to him and tell him that they found the guy who came up with the joke and they're going to beat him up. And instead of the people who actually came up with the joke, they find Carlos Mencia. The next scene shows Mencia being beaten up and yelling, "My dick don't work, man." In the end, as Cartman and Jimmy argue over who they believe wrote the joke, Mr. West has an epiphany and believes that he finally understands the joke. But the final punchline is, he takes the joke to mean that he is, in fact, a homosexual fish. The episode comes to a close with him putting on a wetsuit and diving into the ocean to come to fully embrace his new identity as a homosexual fish. But Bill Hader is known for a lot more than just this one joke that has Kanye West so riled up. He's also a master of impressions. Hader's well known for his top-tier mimicry, especially of other celebrities, whether it's from his time on SNL or on his countless talk show appearances. Hader pretty much always effortlessly delivers a flawless impersonation of whoever he mimics. Here are some of his best impressions, starting with number 9, Harvey Fierstein. In a Top Gun audition sketch on SNL, Hader showed off his uncanny impression of Harvey Fierstein, a name many of you may not be familiar with, but fans of Fierstein will know that the actor has a very distinct, coarse kind of voice. Hader pulled it off fantastically. In the sketch, Hader mimicked Fierstein, pointing out all the homoerotic elements of Top Gun while capturing Fierstein's pointed facial expressions perfectly. Moving on to number 8, Henry Winkler. Many of you may know Henry Winkler as the Fonzie from Happy Days. While Fonzie's character has been imitated by many, Winkler himself not as much. But Hader pulled off a great Winkler during an interview with Conan O'Brien. Hader actually spends quite a bit of time with Winkler because the two are co-stars on Barry, so he's had many chances to observe his mannerisms and perfectly imitate his soft-spoken voice and sincere expressions. After that, number 7, John Malkovich. Mr. Malkovich had the pleasure of hosting SNL at one point, which meant that he too worked closely with Bill Hader for for a while. In fact, he even got to witness Hader's impression of him in person. Anyone who is familiar with John Malkovich's work knows that he has a very distinct and unforgettable way of speaking. Hader pulled off his voice perfectly and impressed the actor himself. The sketch in which he got to do his Malkovich impression, Hader played an Italian TV host, while Malkovich played a fictional version of himself. Not to forget number 6, Jack Nicholson. We're all familiar with Jack Nicholson and his iconic mannerisms and facial expressions. Even the most casual watchers of his movies will be able to recognize them as belonging to the well-known actor. For example, the raised eyebrows and nasal drawl that he speaks with all make Nicholson the perfect guy to impersonate. Obviously, Hader wasn't going to miss out on that. While playing a game on Ellen, one that required him to mimic an actor performing a certain activity, he acted like Jack Nicholson running a lemonade stand. And as you can probably expect, it was uncanny, making the top 5 Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mr. Schwarzenegger is another super imitable actor. Pretty much every comedian has done an impression of him at some point in their career, mostly including some of his many notable catchphrases like "get to the chopper" or "I'll be back." But with Hader, you get a more unique impression. He was interviewing with Conan and relating a story about his young daughter when he realized how much he, when imitating his daughter, sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's what led him to poking fun at his toddler for having the personality and mannerisms of the Austrian-American actor. At number 4, James Mason. Hader pulled out this particular one while auditioning for SNL. In the audition, he and James Mason were trying to redeem a coupon for donuts. Hader got every expression and all the mannerisms down to the T. Into the top 3 with Jason Sudeikis. It seems like a lot of Hader's best work comes out on Conan. In another interview with the late-night talk show host, Hader was telling a story about his castmates on SNL while also doing impressions of them. The best of these was his impression of Jason Sudeikis, which he pulled off while chewing some pretend gum because he said that was what he forever associated with Sudeikis, his constant gum chewing. Up next at number 2, Clint Eastwood. If you were an SNL fan back in the good days, you probably saw Hader pulling at his Clint Eastwood impression several times. He absolutely nailed Eastwood's cold stare down. What made it so much better was that every time he imitated Eastwood, he would have his pants pulled up all the way to his chin to poke fun at the actor's notable habit of wearing his pants way too high. Finally, at number 1, Al Pacino. And last but not least, you have Hader's effortless imitation of Al Pacino. Pacino has a very distinct voice and way of speaking. Many of us are also all too aware of his love of explicit language, which Hader uses to hilarious effect in his mimicry of the Oscar-winning actor. From the strong New York accent and persona to his tough talking, Hader's impression of Pacino is definitely one of his best. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Be honest, did you get the fish stick joke when you first heard it? And which one of Bill Hader's impressions is your favorite? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share, and hit the subscribe button for more content just like this.